All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 597 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons football, and we're going to end the week on a high note. There's a lot of people out there in the mainstream media or who do national work for sports writing and or television, and they always look at the Falcons in a bad light, and they don't give us any respect. Not understand it to an extent, but sometimes the stuff is unwarranted. That's why I say to an extent. Sometimes we are pretty much deserve some of the criticism. But for the past 2 to 3 years, I think the Falcons have done very well for themselves given the situation. But you still have some pundits in the mainstream media still look down on the Falcons. But I came across this article, and I came across this reporter that works for SI.com. He does stuff for the Falcons Report on SI.com. I think he does a couple of other teams as well. So he's not a homer for the Falcons, but he's done some really good work when it comes to the Falcons, and he defends the Falcons on a terrible ranking, a garbage ranking that ESPN put out when it comes to our young core of the Falcons. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions, and I want to give this guy a shout out because he does, from what I see, he does pretty good work. He's fair, and he's not just doing it with Falcons. He's done it with other teams, so we're going to talk about that. If this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And I want to thank you guys for another great week. Even though I took a day off, the numbers are still looking great. I cannot thank you guys enough. If you don't mind, hit that like button, share this podcast, and subscribe to the channel. I think this is probably going to be one of my most favorite episodes that I've done, because this episode does have me in pretty good spirits, because not all hope is lost. I can be found on Twitter at VF Baller, and you can check out the website firstandframerates.com. Let's just go ahead and get into this. I'm going to link this article in the description. I will not put the ESPN article in the description. It's a terrible article. I don't like what I see here, because it time and time again, we're always getting the short end of a stick. And after 28-3 and the collapse of that team, I kind of get it. But now for the past 2 or 3 years, we've been making strides, and we've been going against the grain, what a lot of people said. We just had to deal with this last year with another so-called reporter or whatever from Minneapolis that should have been going, reporting for the Vikings, said that we were supposed to go 2-15 and have the worst roster in the league, but we end up being in the middle of the pack and going 7-10. Nevertheless, we have another person here that's on ESPN, but I'm not going to give the name of this person at all. I'm not even going to put his article out there, but I am going to talk about this reporter, Riley Sheppard. I don't know what he does in his, overall, but the writing that he does on SI.com is fantastic. So, like I said, the link of this will be down in the description. I'm going to give you a preview. Well, I ain't gonna say a preview. I'm just going to read out what he put out here. He said following the back-to-back 7-10 campaigns, the Atlanta Falcons' confidence to turn the corner is through the roof. A busy offseason saw the team add upon young nucleus, drafting running back Bijan Robinson in the first round and staying busy in free agency. But despite the optimism in Atlanta, ESPN recently slotted them as number 31 in ranking of roster cores, which included quarterback Desmond Ridder, wide receiver Drake London, tight end Kyle Pitts, Chris Lindstrom, and defensive tackle Grady Jarrett. Now, that right there is ridiculous, because if it's 31, that means only one other team is under us. And that team that's under us is the Arizona Cardinals. You mean to tell me you got teams with Anthony Richardson, you got CJ Stroud, you got Bryce Young, you got Mac Jones, which I kind of understand Mac Jones, but you got teams with, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields. I'm going to keep going for a second. Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford just because of injury, so I'm not really going to knock that. Kenny Pickett, I mean, you got Jared Goff. You got teams with quarterbacks that are not that far ahead, if not even ahead of Desmond Ridder. You got teams with talent that is okay talent, but not is on the level of a Kyle Pitts. Yes, Kyle Pitts been hurt, but you know what he can do. You saw what he can do. The guy was on the ways of being back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. You saw what Drake London could do. He was like 130, 140 yards away from a 1,000-yard season. You saw what Tyler Algier could do. He ran for 1,000 yards. And you have a defense that's actually pretty young, which wasn't really mentioned on this core. But when you look at this team, there's no way that this team is at 31st. There's just no way around it. It is really embarrassing that ESPN continue to do this to themselves. I don't understand why they do it, but it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm going to go on along and keep saying this. I'm going to keep talking about the article. London recorded a 63 overall in our receiver tracking metrics last season, a very strong number for a rookie. Jarrett is perpetually underrated, but is starting to decline, which that's debatable. While Pitts still has a major potential after a disappointing start to his career, I don't think his start was disappointing. I mean, I think he did pretty good for himself. It's just an injury. Lindstrom is well regarded through the pass and run block, and win rates are anything special. They don't need to be. He's just really reliable. So this is the quote that the ESPN person put. He put that saying that, London, Jarrett, Lindstrom is okay but not good enough. Despite only being, going back to what Mr. Sheppard saying now, despite only finishing above the Arizona Cardinals, Falcons score age of 24.8 was tied for third youngest alongside the Carolina Panthers, who ranked 8 slots above them. Look, I said that the Panthers are probably the biggest threat to us in the NFC South, no doubt. But that doesn't mean because I think they're a better team. I just think with the teams that we got in front of us in the NFC South, they're the biggest threat to us. Now, I don't think that the team is better. You also have to understand, we beat this team in overtime, and we should have beat them the other game, but Marcus Mariota run a roll on the ground and throw the ball in the air as he's rolling on the ground. People got to understand the quarterback play, and I said this everywhere I go. I said this to people that's on the street that I talk to, people of the fine folks that here in Atlanta. I love these people since I moved here. Love them, and they definitely agree. Even on Atlanta Falcons Nation, when I was on that show with those guys over there, shout out to Mad Mike and them, Marcus Mariota was the reason why we lost probably by 8 out of the 10 games. You can make a case for that. We went 7-10. Marcus Mariota was pretty much the reason why we lost 7 to 8 of those games. So miss me with this team is this bad. I don't get it. And while the biggest free agency signing was Jesse Bates, did not make the top 5 players, Atlanta expected 26-year-old safety to lead this much improved secondary. See, and this is what I'm saying. Jesse Bates is a huge upgrade. Don't get me wrong. But I said that he's going to come in and do his thing. But I don't think he's among the core of this team because basically he just got here. You don't know how he's necessarily going to fit in just yet. So everybody else that they named pretty much was guys that was already here. So I get it. So there's nothing to take away from Jesse Bates. We just have to see how big of a leader he's going to be on this team. Because I made another episode where I said that, on the defensive side, Troy Anderson could be the heart of the defense. I still can believe that. It does take nothing away from Jesse Bates because Jesse Bates is going to be Jesse Bates. All right, let's see. But most of all, okay, back to the ESPN quotes. But most of all, Ritter's a former third-round pick remains a huge question mark. Okay, now that's probably like the fairest thing that I've heard so far. Safety Jesse Bates was a candidate for the core, but I felt like the team made enough of a commitment to Ridder this offseason by not pursuing real alternatives. There was no real alternative when it comes to the quarterback thing. I don't care what anybody says. No, Lamar Jackson was not a real alternative. No, Trey Lance is not a real alternative. No, any of these other quarterbacks that are out there, they were not real alternatives. We had salary cap problems. We could not get anybody in here and not have a complete team. I'm sorry. If you want Lamar Jackson, you got him already in Bijan Robinson. Stop the cap. Stop the craziness. Stop all that foolishness if you think I'm talking crazy. All right, now where was I? Um, oh yeah, he was not pursuing real alternatives to warrant to put him in the list over the veteran safety. So that's the end of the article, basically. Really short and sweet. He said the Falcons look to claim its first NFC title since 2006 and prove that their young core isn't as bad as ESPN say it is. Shout out to Sheppard Riley. You can find him on Twitter at at Riley D Sheppard. Go ahead and hit him up. He might have some good content over there. I highly recommend you just follow his articles that he has on SI.com. For the most part, seems like he's a fairly level-headed guy when it comes to talking about these teams. And he doesn't go rah-rah, but he does give you something to really think about when it comes to the mainstream media or these some of these articles that are out there on the internet that don't say nothing good about the Falcons. For the most part, the Falcons do have some things that's warranted to be criticized of. I'm not saying that we're going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but if you see what Coach Arthur Smith is doing, Coach Arthur Smith basically took a team 2 years in a row that had no business winning 7 games and won 7 games. These teams should have been dead in the water. First year, we had Matt Ryan with no receivers. You had Cordell Patterson, and you had a rookie, Kyle Pitts, on offense. On defense, you didn't have much of anything. Second year, you had a slightly better defense, but you didn't have the quarterback. I mean, what can you do? But you mean to tell me with all these moves that we made, and you can say that for the most part, Desmond Ridder is unproven, and I get it. But the fact that he's unproven, that doesn't mean the only quarterback he's better than in this ranking is Kyler Murray. Because no, that's hard for me to believe. Anybody that's coming into the league this first year, I believe that Desmond Ridder is better than right now. These guys don't have any reps at playing quarterback in the NFL. Yes, they may be more talented, but there's no way that you can say that these quarterbacks are better. With a team like Drake London, Chris Lindstrom, Grady Jarrett, and Kyle Pitts, you're not going to sit here and try to tell me that they're not better than what some of these other teams have. I mean, it's just hard for me to believe that. You mean to tell me that this team is better? These 5 guys I just named is better than Justin Fields, DJ Moore, not better than Justin Fields, DJ Moore, Tremaine Evans, Eddie Jackson, and Braxton Jones? Nah, it's no disrespect to them, but I think we do have an edge on some of these teams. You know, I just don't understand it, why some of these pundits do this. It's absolutely ridiculous. It kind of got me upset, but it does have me fired up, and I am in a really good mood because, for one, somebody's defending the Falcons not necessarily defending them, rah-rah defending them, but they are really, being honest. And they're actually being balanced. They're being fair. And I think that's one of the things that you could really ask for. You got some other pundits, you got some other people in the mainstream media starting to be a little bit more fair to the Falcons now. Because after they was ripped for not getting Lamar Jackson, you saw Desmond Ridder and Drake London go on these TV shows and had a pretty decent and solid interview. So people are starting to turn around a little bit and they probably sit back and say, like, wait a minute, this NFC South isn't that, it's not that competitive, but I do see that the Falcons may have the best team because of the free agent signings in the draft. And at the end of the day, that's all you ask. It's fair. Nobody's here trying to say that, Desmond Ridder's going to win MVP or he's going to be like the best quarterback, or top 5 quarterback in the league. I just say this kid needs a chance to actually show what he can do. And four games is not enough. I did another episode before I get out of here. I looked at the first 4 games of a lot of quarterbacks that was out there, and a lot of them wasn't no different than what Desmond Ridder done. So we I ain't gonna say we, because the Falcons, the Falcons fans, y'all for the most part y'all all right. But in the overall scheme of things, most people need to just really fall back and chill for a second. I don't think this 31st ranking is necessarily warranted. It's garbage because, like I said, you mean to tell me that this team is really you're going to sit here and tell me that New Orleans Saints is 16 and the Falcons are 31st? We're really going to go with that? You're going to sit here and tell me that Geno Smith and the Seahawks are 14th? We beat that team last year without a decent quarterback? I mean, sometimes the 49ers are 10th. We beat them last year. You know, I mean, we really have to start thinking about some things. We should have beat the Chargers last year. They're number 7. So, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get up out of here, man, because, hey, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that somebody's actually, saying something about this. But then again, I'm also upset because this stuff continues to happen. I mean, let's just be fair at the end of the day. If you want my opinion, I think that the Falcons should be at least around 20 to 23. I think that's fair, between 20 and 23. I don't think they should, be 31st because you got like 4 or 5 teams that are legit worse than them. If you like this commentary, the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Shout out to Mr. Riley Sheppard of SI.com. Like I said, I'll put his Twitter and the link to his article down in the description. I think it is a fair article. It really is. Not going to give a shout out to ESPN. No, they get some thumbs down for this, and I will not be linking to that article because I'm sick and tired of ESPN and other outlets doing this to the Falcons where it's unwarranted. They did it last year. We overachieved. They did it again this year, and we'll see if we overachieve once again. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google Podcasts. Follow me on Twitter at VFBaller and check out the website at firstandframerates.com. I'm going to get up out of here. You guys enjoy your weekend. Do something productive. Do something. If you've been super productive, find some time to rest, get your mind, body, and soul together, and be able to get ready to go once again this upcoming Monday, which I will be here making more content. If something happens that's really big or whatever, I will be doing a video on the YouTube channel to talk about it. All right, y'all. I'm going to get out of here. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.